Good afternoon. All right, I'm getting the thumbs up in the back that we are good to start. So welcome everybody to the 2022 annual membership meeting of Okie 811. We're so excited to be here in person today after 2 years of a pandemic and having to do some of this virtually. It's nice to see all of you here. And for those of you joining online, it's nice that we have the option to do both. So thanks for being here. We'll go ahead and call it to order of this meeting at 1:02. And so I've had Paige Ross. I am currently the Okie 811 board, well, will be the board president. I've served in the past year as the vice president for 2021. Corey Force, who has been a board member for Okie 811 for many years, he was a wonderful leader for this past year as president, was not able to join us today. And so I'm here to kind of go through the 2021 review in his place. And there's been a lot going on. I don't know about you guys, but there's been a lot happening in the midst of a pandemic and the challenges it's presented for a variety of factors. But we also have a lot of digging going on. We have a lot of excavation, a lot of growth happening in Oklahoma, and continuing to educate the public on calling or clicking 811 to get a locate ticket in before we dig has been so important. So we've continued to see a ton of things happening here. And actually, before I do that, I had the privilege to go to the Global Excavation Safety Conference last week with some of Susan Bull's staff, with her and some of the Okie 811 staff. And I just want to tell you, we've got some phenomenal leadership here. We're doing some great things with Okie 811, and it's really apparent we've got some great leadership. We also have Susan serving as the chairperson for a newly kind of formed group, the Facility Notification Centers Association, that's really helping try to improve operations, share best practices, really focused on just day-to-day operations within 811 centers. So there's a lot of things happening, but they're definitely a standout, and that's very apparent. So appreciate all that they do and to support this. So moving on, 2021, a lot happening. Mentioned all this growth, all this tickets and excavation happening. We've had a 22.3% increase over 2020 in our ticket volumes. That also had our first million ticket year, million plus ticket year. And we've had 12 out of 12 record months. Every month we've been breaking records on the number of locates. And if we do our jobs right, we're going to be getting more and more of those things. The challenge is how to navigate those things as a center too, and the volumes. So with that, they've improved processes. We've reduced the number of outbound notices going to members by almost 7%. A big factor in that is the dig site buffer reduction that went into effect in the fall. And throughout this pandemic and in 2021, we've had a 98.4% employee retention, and that's fantastic. We've got people that want to be here. We've got engaged team members that like coming to work for us, and we've been able to navigate the pandemic. So in the call centers, we've had some remote options in the past, and we've continued to have that as well as in person. And so we're just doing a great job at hiring people that want to stay. And so thanks and kudos to the leadership here. A fun thing for 811 Day in August, we did an 811 Pilsner beer for 811 marketing and awareness. Anybody get to taste or try that? Maybe we'll be able to do it again this year. I think some of the people were liking that idea and looking to do some of their own across different states. So that's a fun marketing campaign, but always looking to do new things to bring awareness to calling before you dig. We've had an 8.25% increase in our automated tickets, and we are almost at 75% of our volume being now electronic. So either direct submit or online tickets being created. So we're trying to improve those processes and technology overall. There were a lot of changes that were required for some of the law changes that went into effect in November. And I'm sure that's a challenge for operators and excavators to navigate new legislative requirements, but our center has been able to manage that challenge as well. They've implemented some other new technology services in a new phone system. And now we're actually a 5-month operating reserve. So our goal is to be at 6 months. And not the first time, but we are nominated as a top workplace in 2021 as well. So for comparison, some of the great things that's happened in 2021 compared to even 2020 is I said we're at 75%. We were only at 71% of online app submissions in the past. We've increased our automated submissions, direct submissions, and our update tickets, all improving those through technology. We also have we've more than doubled our direct submission users. So that's a great way to really focus on, we're digging here, this is exactly what we need, and be able to articulate that to those that are locating for their tickets. We've also grown a little bit over the last year too. We have 1,389 members at this point, and we had 1,374 in 2020. So now I get the opportunity to introduce some of our board members to you. So again, I'm Paige Ross. Nicole Roth, who you have likely met in the past, who served on our board for several years as well, is our vice president for 2022. Richard Forney as well has served in a variety of roles on our board. He is our treasurer, continuing in that role from last year. Tux Jackson, who was new to the board last year, is our board secretary. And some of our other board members, and hope you get a chance to meet all of them today. If you have not, Gary Newmandahl from One Oak, Marshall Johnson from AT&T, Bob Porter from Verizon, and Chris Breeding from Cox. He's our newest board member. He just actually was, he will be joining the board this month. So, and at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Richard for our call for votes. Where did Richard go? There he is.
Thank you. Thank you, Paige, and good afternoon to everyone. This is our final call for votes, and as you know, one of the most important aspects or one of the important parts of our business during the annual meeting is the election of our directors for the board. And this year we have 4 directors that are being elected for a 2-year term. As you know, these normally go out in advance for proxy, but this is an opportunity for those who have not submitted your votes. We give you for about the next, between now and the time that our speakers talk, we'll give you that time to get those votes in. You'll see for those who are watching virtually, you can submit those through that website, www.okie811.org proxy votes. Or we do have someone who's manning the phone. You can also call 405-840-9955, extension 4003 for help if you need to get that, situated. So again, I'll be on the side, kind of watching. If you need questions answered, you can reach out to me. You can call that number. But for the next few minutes, we'll be getting those final votes in for those directors who are to be re-elected. As Paige just mentioned, Chris Breeding, one of those for Cox. We also have, now that I've started naming them, Nicole, they're there for me? Well, good. I don't need to go through them, right? As well as Paige and Bob Porter. So these are the directors that are being elected again for a 2-year term. Miss Angie?
We're going to go ahead and do a couple more door prizes real quick and then get it going. The next door prizes is actually, we got a couple Thunder tickets with parking. This is for the game on March 23rd. And the winner of the Thunder tickets is 342101. Are they still here? 101. Here, no. 342088. All right. All right, and we'll just do one more now. And this is a wireless charger. You can charge your earbuds and phone all in one. And that winner is 342074. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our keynote speakers, James Cross and Kelsey Klinger. They're with Energy WorldNet.
That's not me. It's him.
Stage is risky.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. Y'all mind if we sit? Anyone? It's our first time back.
Well so far.
Thank you, everyone, for having us. I'll start with a story. About two years ago, I was at a conference in Vegas, and I was watching someone was actually a presentation on how to present like a pro. And the guy talked about you can't go up there and just say, "Hey, my name's James Cross. This is Kelsey, and we're going to be talking about safety culture today." And he said, "You got to have a cold open." And so I thought about this, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." So began to kind of work that into presentations when we can. Well, full disclosure, this is the first time I've spoken in person in 2 years. Been on a couple of panels and things like that, but just like a lot of us, been stuck at home. Kelsey, same. Been a couple of years for her as well. And so a little bit of anxiety, to come out here and do it in person. A lot better when I'm in that little box. And Kelsey deals with a little bit of anxiety. You'll learn
By
about
a little, he means a lot.
a lot. She'll go into that later. I think she has a whole dissertation about that. But I dropped this on her about a week ago, maybe over the weekend or maybe Monday. And I was like, we need to work on a cold open. And we had planned to get here early and sync up because honestly, we've never presented together either. And so we planned to get here early. Well, about 11:45 last night, we were sitting at the bar and I was like, Kelsey, look, tomorrow's about getting comfortable. If you need to get up at 8 and we'll get ready together, make sure you feel good about it. We can do that. Whatever you need, comfort zone, that's what we want. We decided from 8 to 10 that we would do that. All about comfort, right? At 5:45, Kelsey texted me and said, man, I messed up. I got excited. I got anxious. I stayed up all night. I'm already dressed and I'm ready. So I said, well, I'll get up then. So we met down at the bar. Her comfort level apparently is about 16 hours, is a little bit more than the 4 that we had planned. And all of that to say we nailed the cold open. Look,
Killed it.
that easy. So some of y'all I know, some of you I don't. If you watch, I think I was part of the virtual one last year. They all blend together. But I like to run through some ground rules. I like to set expectations when I get up here because I like to set them low and then blow them out of the water. So let's run through them real quick. It's really easy, no big deal. Look, we're not Netflix. We don't care if you keep watching. That's the truth. We get paid the same either way, which is nothing. We get a couple of drink tickets. It's cool. Look, I joke about it, but the reality is we're all busy. We had that thing in our pocket. You're going to get an alert at some point. You're probably going to have to check an email. You're probably going to have to get on Teams. You might even have a meeting. It's cool. We're all good with it. Probably make Kelsey feel better if a few people bailed out. So look, take the call if you need to, answer the email, check back in when we're done.
And give us a little bit of grace. Obviously, I'm freaking out, man. So, we haven't spoke together. So, give us some grace on this one.
A
It'll be
ball of
okay.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Again, we'll go into that later. Look, some of y'all are probably note takers. I'm not a note taker, so this one's really easy. But for a minute, let's be present. We're taught to take notes our whole lives in school, and to sometimes take the place of paying attention. Today, don't worry about it. You can take a picture with your phone or not. We're going to talk about some stuff, but don't get lost in trying to capture everything. Be present is more the thing.
So a little about me. I'm a recovering regulator.
I don't know.
Thank you. Director of Safety and Compliance at EWN. Been in the business over 10 years. That's my dog, Belle Belle. She's the cutest. And yeah, balding siding, James, but that is the number one
I did.
bullet
I
point.
moved that one up the list once after this morning. For those that don't know, I have a podcast. It's really odd. The pandemic is weird. Have anyone ever seen or listened to the podcast? That's all 6 of our subscribers right there. It's something that evolved over the pandemic. It's something fun. It's called Coffee with Jim and James. Anybody know Jim Shower? That's my partner in crime, and we get to fellowship quite a bit on the show. I'm also the Chief Culture Officer at Energy WorldNet. I guess I should have said that first. So culture is a big deal to me. Newly appointed, they gave me that job in January 1, and I said, it's cool. What am I going to be doing? They're like, you tell us. So we're getting to work on it. More importantly, I am a dad. I am a husband. And seeing my son here, Liam, I'm not a big fan of that dog, but some people are. This is my daughter, Mila. She's basically feral. Since the pandemic, listen, I'm a Photoshop expert. I could take the dirt off her mouth, okay? But I'm not going to because that's her. She is our little chicken farmer. I live just about 40 miles across the border in Texas, so I'm basically Oklahoma. Look, the last year or so, the last couple of years, we've heard culture, 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 culture. Everywhere you look, whether it's social media, maybe it's the news, maybe it's a webinar you got sent, somebody spamming you. It's out there. We hear it a lot. And some people would say it kind of feels like a fad. And you know what? Somebody who's in charge of culture, I'm not mad at a fad. If it brings a little attention to it and brings a few more sets of eyes and brings it up in conversations, I'm not going to be mad at that. You probably are hearing a little bit more of it too because of something called the Great Resignation. I'm sure a lot of us have heard that, been coined different things. For those that don't know, basically, a lot of people woke up over the last couple of years and said, you know what, I want a little bit more out of the company that I work for. And it opened their eyes. And again, I'm not mad at them for that either. But it has brought culture up. There's more things that we expect out of the place that we do business and the businesses we do business with. And so it may feel like a fad, but for some of us that have been doing it for a while now, it definitely isn't. But we'll take a little bit of momentum when we can get it. In fact, just to kind of bring it back to really the core of it, this goes back to 1951. And if you look here, Elliot Jock talks about it in his book. I'll let you read it. You've already read it. But basically, it's kind of the written and unwritten laws that we make within an organization to accept people. That's when you really boil it down, that's what you're talking about. And that's kind of cool when you think about it. That's how you get in the club, right? And when you kind of start down that path, really having that direction is what's important. I love this quote right here. because we all want to get there fast. Everybody wants to know what the cheat code is, right? Well, there's no cheat code. In fact, it's a really, really long game, and we'll talk about it later. But getting that direction established so that you can hit the gas later is where it's important. So building it, and we'll talk about some of that foundation, how we get that started, and then Kelsey's going to pile on top of that. But that is where you have to start. You have to define that direction. And a lot of what you'll hear today, spoiler alert, I'm speaking tomorrow, and I have a whole topic just about this portion. Kelsey's going to add on the safety culture. So if you want to learn more about this, join me tomorrow as well. And we'll learn how to, we all want to get there. We want to get there fast. Really, it's about that direction. So we had to sit back, and I'm going to use our own organization as an example in these because we're telling our story to a degree. We had to step back and really say, what do we believe in, right? And we have the big Oxford common sentences on the walls, and on the plaques. And look, I know our vision and I know our mission by heart, but what did we really believe in? What, at the end of the day, what was going on? And we started to look at our people, and we came to this kind of agreement that every person that worked for us had a lens, a voice, and an ear. Okay, so every person, if you've ever heard of Miles' law, it says where you stand depends basically on where you sit. Right. So think about that. What's important to you and means a lot based on where you sit in an organization, right? So why wouldn't we want to harness all of that and pull it in and affect positive change with it, right? And so we began to really talk to people, and we did something really cool, and I'd love to talk to y'all about it. We can talk about it tomorrow too in that session, but we did something we called stay interviews, and really what it was all of us have probably seen someone leave an organization, and we do an exit interview. And what do we find out? We found out all these things that we wish we would have known, right? Well, we basically turned around and said, so why are we waiting for people to leave to tell us what's going on, and what's wrong? And so we went out there proactively and began to speak to every single person. And it was a commitment. And people were listening, and they told us, and we saw from their vantage point. And it was very, very powerful. And during this time before, we didn't have the best culture. I'll be honest. A lot of companies wouldn't tell you that. They'd probably hide that in the back of the closet. But we weren't perfect. We had a lot of issues. And so we really went to work. And at times we didn't know, like it says here, we didn't know what was a cause, a symptom. It was treatment. I mean, all over the place things were happening. We were in the weeds, and we were just pulling people out of the river, right? And I love how this says, at some point you got to go upriver and figure out why people are falling in, right? And so that was the commitment we made. Let's go figure out why people are falling in. And this is our date. I don't know what y'all's date was, but this date for us kind of changed things. This was the first day of our whole new life we had to figure out. And we thought we had culture figured out. Like we had went to work, we had a very deliberate and intentional, plan to go out and be a part of it. And then we rolled into the pandemic and had to relearn everything. And for some of the first times, Maslow's hierarchy of needs were threatened, right? For some of us, we were worried about our families. We were worried about a roof over our head. We were worried about our health, worried about our friends' health, our coworkers' health, toilet paper. I mean, that's the reality, right? And that made us uncomfortable. We thought we had this thing figured out. But what it did is it brought a light to each one of us, right? And how many of us have heard at some point, man, you got to check that at the door. You got to leave that home stuff at home. Don't bring that in. Don't bring that baggage in. Kind of had that baggage claim at the door, at our organizations. And now we have some people doing their business out of home, right? And things like that. And so Again, we had to really think about that. Is that fair to ask? We're not asking them not to do business in their house anymore, you know? So we began really leaning in on the people, trying to understand it, trying to understand how people click. Like, were they anxious because their kids weren't in school? Were they parenting, being a teacher, being a worker all at the same time? And a lot of us still dealt with it. It's not new information. All of us worked through those things. But it did bring something up for me personally. I kind of went down a road during that time of discovery myself to try to understand people better so that we could bring better results to our culture. And anybody read any of Brene Brown's books probably knows very well that what she dives into. But I love what she says here about, look, we're wired for emotion first, period. We taught ourselves to think. We taught ourselves to be engineers and to honestly to start engineering emotion out of things. But we're emotional beings at the heart of it that sometimes think. And think about that. And so we gave ourselves that grace and said, that's okay. You know, when it isn't your best day, it's all right. You know, let us know. We'll work through it. And we got through those things together. And that was tough. But I'll tell you what was tougher is culture is one of those things that any of us that work on projects, no matter what it is, you're doing a pipe replacement somewhere, you're doing a new install somewhere, there's a deadline on that thing, right? There's milestones, there's things you can check off and say, got it, done. Culture wasn't like that. And that terrified people because we live in a world where, I mean, if we want something, somebody probably ordered something off Amazon while we were sitting here, right? And we get it fast and we watch Netflix instantly and all those things. We're wired for quick results and deliverables. And so telling people some of the stuff we're doing now, we probably won't see results for 18 months. And even then we might not know. It was hard not to having things that we could really hone in on to measure, right? You can't manage what you can't measure. And we battled that at times, just back and forth, because sometimes things would feel like we weren't making progress, but really it was some of that old stuff from a year ago creeping back up. So not having that, knowing it's an indefinite engagement is a reality that you have to work through as well. And the real question behind it was, at this point, we weren't perfect. People weren't, you know, the most engaged. We hadn't always been the best employer. Why on earth would they listen to us now? Right? And that's a hard thing to start walking that path if you don't know anybody's going to be there to listen to it. Right? So how do you gain followers? How do you create a movement in a way that people want to jump on board? Let's watch this video.
Ladies and gentlemen, at TED, we talk a lot about leadership and how to make a movement. So let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons from it. First, of course, you know, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. So notice that as more people join in, it's less risky. So those that were sitting on the fence before now have no reason not to. They won't stand out. They won't be ridiculed, but they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. So over the next minute, you'll see all of the those that prefer to stick with the crowd, because eventually they would be ridiculed for not joining in. And that's how you make a movement. But let's recap some lessons from this. So first, if you are the type, like the shirtless dancing guy, that is standing alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals. So it's clearly about the movement, not you. Okay, but we might have missed the real lesson here. The biggest lesson, if you noticed, did you catch it? Is that leadership is over glorified. That yes, it was the shirtless guy was first, and he'll get all the credit, but it was really the first follower that transformed the lone nut into a leader. So as we're told that we should all be leaders, that would be really ineffective. If you really care about starting a movement, have the courage to follow and show others how to follow. And when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first one to stand up and join in. And what a perfect place to do that, TED. Thanks.
I think that sums it, and I think that makes me the shirtless guy also, which is thankfully it's not. A lot of people ask when we talk on this topic is, you know, how do we get started? How can we impact, you know, from where we sit in our organization? And I know there's people of all makes and models in here that sit everywhere throughout organizations. So that's a hard blanket statement sometimes to make. However, I stole a couple of the things from tomorrow's session, teaser alert. And I want to start there because there are some things that we can go to work on right now. And the first one is really starting where you have influence. I know it sounds so simple, but do I believe that each of you can go grab a meeting with the CEO and rejuvenate your culture or start down? No, I don't. I'd be silly to think that. But I do believe you sit on teams that deserve the same things, right? And sometimes that's within, these are things that transcend work even, right? We can lead from anywhere. It may be a church group, it may be anywhere, at home. So start where you have influence. Sometimes we can get into analysis paralysis because we want to do the big, giant, full scale, 100%. All right. And that's honestly, that's not where you can make the biggest impact starting now. So go look where you have the most influence and then rally those folks to begin that movement. The second thing, again, it goes hand in hand. It kind of, if you want people to follow, you've got to be a good follower. You've got to be the example. You've got to be out there. We'll talk about it more. Walking the talk. We hear that a lot in safety culture. It's because it's real. We can't be out there saying one thing and doing another. So start where you have influence, be the example, and hold the door because people will be coming.
So how do we layer safety culture into damage prevention? So we can marry safety culture and damage prevention through safety management systems. And although your organization might not have a formal safety management system, once a positive safety culture infiltrates all parts of an organization, you're doing a lot of the safety management system things maybe inadvertently that you don't know you're doing, but it's there. It's just maybe not recognized in a formal program. It's something as simple as if you're on a job site, somebody notices that possibly a service line wasn't located and, you know, stopping work, stop work authority, small things like that that are actually part of a safety management system that also go with the culture and damage prevention aspect. So safety is not a gadget, but a state of mind. And go ahead. And it's the glue that keeps it all together. And it's not just operators or contractors, it's having those shared beliefs and values and attitudes together so that it can hold together as the glue. And so all these circles may not be familiar or, you know, your job priority, but all of them are, in your organization. They may not be your job, but all of them are being touched on in your organization that meet that center glue that holds that safety culture together.
Kelsey, what I like about this too is if you remember when we defined culture in the beginning, a lot of these things are very similar, the attitudes, the beliefs, right? So they go hand in hand. That foundational culture translates straight into safety culture when we look at it.
So safety culture is everything. So there's, intentional safety decisions, JSAs as an example. And then employees must have stop work authority, like I said, but they also have to feel empowered to use that stop work authority. And they also have to feel empowered if they see something, they say something and not have repercussions for it. So it's small things like that that lend to your safety culture. And then it's also, going from reactive to proactive to eventually predictive in, considering risk and not blaming or shaming anyone, but rather learning from the lessons and communicating those positively throughout your organization, not as a failure, but as something that we can learn from.
And Kelsey, I think that's big on, the blame and the lessons learned, because I'm sure we've all worked somewhere where you were terrified to make a mistake, and you didn't know what the repercussions were. Of course, there are repercussions at times, but it's more normalizing how we react to it. And the lessons learned is the biggest part. So huge.
People feel paralyzed if they don't feel like they can speak up, and then your safety culture is not going to be positive. So again, for the people in the back, safety culture is everything. And as Honest Abe would say, the best way to predict your future is to create it. So like James said earlier, safety culture is going to be established regardless. So if you want to create a positive safety culture, that is something that you have to strive towards, and you can create that so that that will be your culture going forward. Otherwise, the culture is just going to be what it is. It could be negative, it could be good, but you have no direction if you don't create it yourself.
I talk about it in the session tomorrow, but your culture is going to be built regardless of whether you're an active participant or not. That's the terrifying thing. So you can get involved or not. Culture will be there, right? So it's about making that decision of I'm going to be an active participant in that.
So there's 5 common safety culture mistakes. One, buzzwords. So they become redundant and eventually ignored just because it's not really meaningful communication at that point.
The poster.
Yep, it's a poster to lunchroom or a flyer or something. It's just like, yeah, whatever. I see that all the time. So, having actual meaningful communications. 2, willing to bend, not break, right? So be flexible in, similar to a pandemic. We all had to change. I started my job at EWN 2 weeks later, the whole world shut down. So 2 years of my job were on Zoom. I still haven't met some of the people at the office, dude. So it's just evolving and adapting to those changes. And then ignoring culture, like we said, it doesn't make it go away. So just because you want to ignore it doesn't mean it's not there. It's just you're not attending to it. 4, too focused on failure. So you need to not focus on the failure, but the lesson learned and make it a positive rather than, oh, this is a failure, we did this wrong. Okay, yeah, but what could we learn from that, and how can we communicate that to our people in a positive manner? And 5, too many cooks in the kitchen, basically. All the goals and strategies aren't aligned when there's too many people, too many cooks in the kitchen, and they're not agreeing on the goals and strategies of the organization. So we could go on
Nerd
about,
alert.
yeah, nerd alert. We could go on about this nerd chart, but we'll go on to basically simplifying it into normalization of deviance, right? So this is the shortcuts and workarounds that become the new norm, so we see it as that straight line. That's how, we imagine safety culture. That's a straight line. This is where we're going, but that's not realistic. The realistic is the red line of, okay, this is a shortcut. This is a workaround. This is the new norm. So it's taking those things into factor and putting them in your new procedures and changing and being adaptable to those conditions rather than thinking that straight line is always going to be the way. And then how
I
to
love
grow.
this visual.
You love this.
This is
visual?
my favorite slide.
Growing safety culture. So those 3 items in yellow at the bottom, those are your main items right there. The rest of the tree can't grow if those 3 items are not addressed in the beginning. So especially leadership. So leadership buy-in is going to be your number 1 factor in creating a safety culture and growing it.
And it's not saying that the other things can't work or you can't progress on the others. It's more so it's going to be a hard row to hoe if you don't have those foundational elements down at the bottom there. I mean, it's just going to make it tougher if you don't have the financial backing that leadership brings or the buy-in. It's just going to make some of the conversations tougher. If your communication's failing, again, it's just going to make it tougher. But I like to see it as almost that roots, and then we bear the fruits from it.
Word.
Word.
So like James explained, it can be a daunting task to think of a safety culture just because it's, a journey, not a destination. So it can be hard to think this is an endless cycle. How are we ever going to get somewhere? But that's just what it is. It's continuous improvement, not to think of it as, oh, we're never going to get there. It's just continually improving and, realizing where things can be improved and making those changes.
You said it. It's more of a circle than a line.
Yep.
And I think that's a good visual for me.
Yep.
That's it for us. Are there any questions out there or any stories, any struggles that anybody's dealt with that maybe this hit home with? If not, that's cool too. We also, if you'd like to connect with us on LinkedIn or you'd like to share, we'd love to chat with you afterwards. If you're starting this journey, don't know where to start or need some help, we're happy to do that. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for having us here today. You did great, Kelsey.
Thanks, y'all.
I'll leave that up for just a second.
Should I drop the mic, you think?
Nope. Too many mics.
Yeah, talking both.
Gerald Welch, come to the stage, please. Gerald Welch, to the stage. On, testing, awesome. I'm just gonna hold this because. Jeez. Okay, thank you guys very much for being here and being a part of our incredible state of Oklahoma, our damage prevention efforts, our safety message that we do. I love this this organization. I love this industry because we're all in this together to help prevent damages to underground lines. My name is Susan Bowl. I'm the executive director at Oak 811. I have the fortune of having 2 great leadership team members that are with me. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Well, that was very nice. She is pretty fantastic, guys. We love working for her. My name is Gerald Welch, Director of Operations. I get to oversee and lead our IT team and our contact center team and our quality assurance team and work alongside these wonderful professionals.
And I'm Angie Niemeyer, Director of Business and Education Services. I oversee our HR, finance, member services, and education and outreach. And it's an honor to work with Susan. She definitely was our lone nut. So Thank you for leading the way, Susan.
I don't know if I've ever done those kind of dances before in public, but thanks for following me. I did want to share a little bit more information. Paige hit on a lot of our 2021 accomplishments at a very high level. We do report to the board quarterly what we call key performance indicators and things that we keep track of as we're progressing throughout the year. These are things that the board wants to make sure that we're meeting certain targets and ensuring that we are making progress. So the first one is service uptime. You know, we're a 24/7 shop, right? We're 365 days a year, 24/7. So we have to have uptime on our systems, on our ticket management, on our ability to send notices out to members, to have lines located. It's very important that we have a focus on our service uptime. So at the end of 2021, we had a 99.91% service uptime. Sometimes things happen. Telecom services get interrupted. We know that happens. That's probably one of the indicators where we had a service outage. We try to let members know about those things through our social media and through messages if we do have an outage of any sort. But we're very focused on making sure we are able to get those notices out to members in a timely fashion. Employee retention at the end of 2021 was 99.2%. We lost one employee in the whole year of 2021. I'm very proud of that. You know, it was the great resignation, like James talked about, where people were leaving to go to work for Amazon and all these other companies because they could make more money. We're a nonprofit. We can't pay a lot of money to our staff, but we can have a great culture, we can have great benefits, and we can have a supporting environment where we support one another. And that's a big message that I send all the time is we're here to support one another, not compete with one another. And so that has played a big part of how we're able to retain our employees at OK 811. We did move people home, just like everyone else did. We did have about 3 employees that continuously came into the office every day of the week. And Angie was one of them. I think she wanted to escape her kids, though. I don't think it had anything to do with wanting to be in the office. But no, we had the same struggles everyone else did, but we pulled together and made it work, just like a lot of you all had to do in your organizations. We did retitle our customer service reps. We used to call them CSRs. We're now calling them damage prevention representatives, damage prevention agents, and damage prevention specialists. So depending on how they've escalated in their career on the contact center floor, depends on which, if they're a representative, an agent, or a specialist. So our DPXs is what we call them now because they could be any of those 3 titles. We measured their safe tickets. We say, okay, you guys are entering tickets, you're taking locate requests over the phone, you're processing locate requests that come in via the web. We want to make sure we're auditing and monitoring those tickets, and they have, you know, marked the correct dig site, they've given the correct driving directions, and we do a quality assurance check on a large percentage of those tickets that are processed. So we strive for a 99% or better. So we did get a 99.3% on our quality tickets. If we find a ticket that we deem as unsafe, we do a correction ticket to make sure that we get that new notification out to the members, and so that the dig site can be properly located. We also monitor our excavator direct tickets. So we've trained excavators to directly enter in their tickets. They can immediately get their ticket number back. And again, we want to make sure they've marked the correct dig site and given the correct driving directions. So we monitor and audit and do quality assurance on their tickets as well. So overall, we had a 97.8% quality on our direct submission tickets. And a large percentage of our tickets are now coming in through direct submission. And we do audit a larger percentage of those because those people aren't right under our roof and they haven't gone through the extensive training that our staff have. 811 educated excavators. This is a big thing that we look at for damage prevention. How many people have we touched with our training on safe dig site, on the 4 steps to safe excavation, on calling 811 before you dig, on the process that it takes to get from a locate request to the locate to the digging. So we focus a big focused energy on how many people we reach every year. And last year we reached 4,279 with our training. That includes our 811 certification. I think some people are going to be sitting in on that certification training tomorrow. That's a great program. You actually walk away with a certificate that says you're 811 certified. And then the impact of that education, how much did that person get out of being educated on 811 and on the safe digging practices? And we scored a 4.52 out of 5. So we feel like our impact is there as well. It's not just about making sure people go to training, but that they're able to walk away and implement those tools and technologies and things that we've given them. Member satisfaction. We also look at excavator and member satisfaction. Maybe some of you all have seen some of our surveys that we send out. We send out a survey, I think once a quarter, to whoever has submitted locate requests on a certain day or a certain week. And we ask them, how did we do? How did our contact center reps do with handling your locate request? There we scored a 4.47 out of 5 on excavator satisfaction, and on member satisfaction, that's many of you sitting in the room are members of OKI 811, and you have to submit your service areas. You have to update your information on file with us. We want to know how we did. We scored a 4.45 out of a 5. And then employee satisfaction, employee engagement. It goes back to that culture that James was talking about. You got to ask your employees what's working, what's not working. We do a third-party survey every year of our employees and say, you know, where lessons learned, what's working, what can we do differently that you would like to see. And so we score that every year, and we scored a 5.19 out of a 6. So that was a great accomplishment as well. In a year that we were, you know, kind of hit and miss. Are we in the office? Are we out of the office? Are we hybrid? You know, we were going back and forth for a while there. It's kind of crazy. And then we try to always keep our eye on what can we improve next? What's the next thing that we need to be doing to make things easier for people, streamline things for our staff, cut costs, reduce, you know, overhead. So we look at that every year, and we actually implemented 26 process improvements last year. And these are sustainable improvements. They're things that are going to stay in the system and be able to continue being an improvement years down the road. And then we did manage our expenses under budget last year. We had quite a bit of things budgeted that we didn't do, like travel and in-person conferences and trainings. We also implemented a new phone system, but we didn't implement it till later in the year, and we budgeted it for the whole year. So that was a big expense that we didn't incur. So we are constantly trying to keep our expenses in line with our budget, but if we can come in under budget, we want to do that too. Financials. I like to be very transparent when it comes to our operations. There's nothing under the sheets or hidden about what we do and how we do it. We're a nonprofit organization. We're not making money. We take our expenses and we try to determine what we need in revenue to cover our costs. Sometimes we hit it high, sometimes we hit it low. This year, our ticket volume was 22.3% up over the previous year. So in 2021, we saw an increase in revenue because we had an increase in ticket volume. So you can see here that our cash and cash equivalents, we almost had $7 million that we collected in 2021 for those for the work that we're doing. But a lot of that was due to the increase in ticket volume. We did not budget for that. We budgeted pretty low, and we ended up bringing in more funds. Any excess funds that we do get, we put it in an operating reserve, and that's actually in an investment account. Right now, it's not earning very much money. Actually, it's losing money. I think everybody's investments are losing money right now, but we do move those funds into an investment account, and we call that our operating reserve, and we're at a 5-month operating reserve as of the end of 2021. And that's a business best practice. I've been a nonprofit now for many years. I was with Girl Scouts Western Oklahoma before I came to OKI 811. You guys are like cookies versus locate requests versus, yeah. Anyway, I did learn a lot of lessons around nonprofit business practices. And it's a best business practice for a nonprofit to have at least a 6-month operating reserve. So that's what we're working towards. We've had that goal since I came on board in 2013. So we're almost there. I think we're actually there now that we've gotten into 2022. But as of the end of 2021, we were at a 5-month operating reserve. And then, of course, like I said, our expenses were under budget due to primarily the travel, the trainings, and the new phone system. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gerald, and he's going to tell you a little bit about our operations and then the contact center.
Awesome. Yeah, what a year, right? 22.3% increase. I know you guys felt that. One thing that you'll notice is we actually didn't see the same equivalent in increase in outbound notices. That was mentioned earlier by Paige. We actually reduced our dig site buffer from 300 feet to 150 feet. That happened in November, so that probably helped reduce that percentage overall for the year. Which that also has other impacts. When you reduce the buffer, then your locate requests have to be more precise to make sure that all the members are getting notified properly. So you'll kind of see that in some different areas where it kind of took a dip towards the end of the year, and I'll show you that in a second. How many of you guys need to stretch your legs right now? Because we got a lot of data, a lot of numbers to throw at you. Yep. Go ahead and stand up. Go ahead and stand up, please. I don't want you to fall asleep on me. Maybe a big yawn, a stretch. Yeah. I had to get a coffee before coming up here. Although the sign says decaf, so I'm not sure it's doing anything. Yeah, stir around a little bit. Awesome. Well, guys, we saw 48% of total tickets were normal tickets. That meant there were a lot more update tickets this last year. Updates are kind of the bane of our existence. They're good and they're bad. They're bad when people aren't digging. They're good whenever they're used effectively. There have been a couple different things in the last couple of years that have affected people's ability to get work done. How many of you guys have had supply chain issues? Like you need stuff to put in the ground, but you just can't get it. You plan for it and it just doesn't show up on time. So we know a lot of that's happened. We continue to kind of work through that and try to be good stewards of your time. We want to make sure that there's limited waste in the system. So we follow up on a lot of those updates to make sure it's not being abused. But of course, there are things that slip through the system. So last year we saw a really good safety rate from our agents. They continue to perform at a very high level. They really focus on making sure that the information that they send to you is best quality it can be, so that the excavator stays safe and your facility stays safe. So 99.28% for the 12-month average was phenomenal. You did see a slight pullback in November, and that's because of that buffer change. Kind of had to remind people that you've got to be extra precise because there's members that aren't going to get pulled in from that additional 150 feet. We want to make sure all the right members are on all the right tickets. So that kind of coincides with a little bit of a dip on the direct submission users as well. Overall, really solid rate. We expect them to be at a 96% or above for the year, and they're at 97.82%. We continue to work with them. If we see direct submission users that drop off in quality, we may even take their ability to direct submit away. So damage reports is a big thing. We actually have mandatory damage reporting to the 811 center now. That mandatory just came into play in November, but we've been taking damage reports for the last 5.5 years or something like that. So this is really solid. We continue to get more and more data around this, and this data will help us to really impact specific areas, specific excavators, and make sure that they've got the proper training. So overall, you can see a lot of those damage reports that come in are actually on tickets that have, or excavation that has a valid ticket. So that makes us ask different questions like, what is happening here? Why are there damages? Was it a bad locate? Did the excavator actually dig outside of where they had designated in their locate request? Were there facilities that just were not in our system? So there's a lot of questions that come up with that. And then one of the biggest things that we do is we take your service areas and we put them in our system. Interestingly enough, there was actually a slight drop in service areas from 2020 to the beginning of 2021, and then again a drop from 2021 to 2022. So interestingly enough, we're not sure if this is because a lot of stuff is being abandoned or kind of which direction that is going. And I'm going to be quiet and turn it over to Angie.
All right, well, I heard somebody was a little disappointed that we didn't have wind in Oklahoma today, so they decided to give me the mic. What we have here is just a breakdown of our membership classification by facility type. You will see that pipeline operators do make up the bulk of our membership, followed by municipalities. The difference in these colors are our general and associate members. We do have 402 general members. Those are our voting members. We also have 964 associate members. And then lately, we've really been encouraging stakeholders in the area that may not own or operate underground facilities, but they have a vested interest in OKI 811 and they want to partner with us and collaborate with us. So we have the sustaining membership classification as well. And for 2021, we ended up with 23 sustaining members. There may be some of you in the room today. So we do have some fluctuation in our membership every year just based on the acquisition and sale of assets. Of course, this is very common in the pipeline industry. This just kind of shows where we've seen that fluctuation that brought us to our numbers for 2021. Membership verification is a very important part for you guys to take responsibility for the information that we have on file to make sure that we are contacting the right persons, transmitting the tickets to the right location and stuff. And you can and should always be aware of what we have on file and make updates as things change. However, we do have our annual membership verification campaign. We actually launched that a couple weeks ago, so some of you should have received notification for that already. We are changing the process of this a little bit. We are trying to encourage use and familiarity with our OKI 811 portal. So we're requiring you guys to go in and log into the portal to verify what we have on file for you. Once you do this, you'll go in, you'll be able to look at your mapping as well through our service area editor. Tyler Dunlap's going to give a presentation on that here in a little bit. And then you'll also be able to see those dispatch information things for each dispatch code that you're assigned to. Once you view that information, you'll be able to click that everything's correct, or you'll be able to say, no, I need to make some changes and update that right in the portal. Once you click everything is correct, we are taking this opportunity during this campaign to request some additional information that's not currently part of our system, so we're updating this information as well. This includes an emergency repair contact. This will help notify on those damage reports that Gerald mentioned. Eventually, we'll get those numbers posted on those tickets, so that way those excavators that are contacting us of the damage will have the correct person to contact when a facility is damaged as well for that repair. And then also design contact. This is to help our engineering companies and other people that are in the pre-planning phases that don't actually need marks on the ground yet. So positive response also became part of the law back in November, and we have done a major push to get everybody registered and configured to use positive response, but also to make sure that they are positively responding to the tickets. If you're not, the system's not going to work. So what we have here is a breakdown of our numbers since that law went into effect, and we do have 14% of our membership is not configured for positive response yet through our portal. So that equates to about 1.5% of our tickets for January were not recorded because they're not configured. And then we also have a system in place that it will auto close after 14 days once the ticket has been processed. So that way you only have a little bit, you have 14 days to submit your response. And so we're looking at that, and that's trending downward, but we still have a lot of work to do. And then we're also monitoring the late responses. These are the tickets that are closed after the 48 hours or after the work to begin date and time. And we're at about 30% of those. 30% of those were late for January. So we definitely need everybody's engagement and cooperation with this process in order for it to be an effective communication piece for our excavators and for our members. Okay, next thing on the list is we have Cortera. We have been partners with Cortera for many different services over the past several years. They provided our web ticket entry, they provided MSAM and some other features. And in addition, we also worked with them for providing core web services to our members that allowed them to have like a ticket management system. Since then, they have sunset a lot of those other services, and we're no longer utilizing anything except for this core web service. So we are going to be discontinuing that relationship completely effective July 1st. And so we do have our portal that's free for all members that will act as a ticket management system. And so if you are a core web member, you will need to work with our member services department to maintain those ticket transmissions to Cortera, or let us know if you switch off of that. And we do have some of our ticket management system providers that are here supporting our event this year. And they are going to be in the exhibit hall, so if you want to speak with them, you certainly can. We have Earth, and we'll be doing a presentation tomorrow. And we have DigTix, and Cortera is here as well. So you'll want to make sure you reach out to them and see how they can help if that's something you are interested in. And then before I turn it back over to Susan, I understand there's a special presentation. So if I could get Tim Teal and Vinny Vickers to come up, please.
Sorry, I don't know if I want to go up on that stage. It looks a little sketchy. No, we wanted to just stop and take a moment to recognize you, Susan. We had yes, we had a custom hard hat made for you that's got your name on it. We really appreciate everything you've done for the state of Oklahoma and for damage prevention. And obviously, the rest of your team members as well. Maybe we were going to get you some, but Susan, you've been great, and we just want to stop and recognize you real quick. So, Vinny.
Absolutely. And Susan, telling the work you do for all of us is definitely recognized, and we appreciate it. And I feel like most time we're the ones leaning on you the hardest, but if I had a business to run or owned, I'd want you and your team running it for us. You've done tremendous. That'll get you out of the office maybe a little more.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's so sweet. Did you not know to put energy transfers or summit or center point energy? Which
Hey, hold
so
on
many
just a second.
changes this year.
I want to back up real quick. I misspoke a second ago before she dives back into everything. I told you guys that we didn't know what the reduction in service areas was from. We do. I've got a little daddy brain. I got a new baby at the house, and so sometimes I get a little foggy these last couple weeks. So one of the big things, and Tyler will talk about it later, but we continue to see more and more specialization and centerline data come in with service areas. So many of our members have had, registrations with us that span, quarter sections, and you guys continue to improve your data, and that's why our service areas continue to reduce. While you guys are putting more things in the ground, your data, better data, will make the whole thing better for everybody. And one thing that's not on this slide or any of these slides is a call out to the operating committee. I think we should have the operating committee members who are in the audience right now go ahead and stand. The operating committee is some of our members who, and some of our other stakeholders. We've got some excavators, we've got locating companies that come together to discuss different processes and procedures and how they affect all of you guys. So we've got several of them in the audience today. And I just want to say a huge thank you to your participation, your dedication to the mission of safe excavation in Oklahoma. So give these guys a round of applause.
Thank you, Tim and Vinny. That was very sweet. And I have a great team. It's a dream team is what we call ourselves, because we do work very effectively together. We're very efficient. We have great technology brains on staff to help with all this. So it takes the Army, it takes a family of friends and coworkers to make this all happen. So thank you guys. 2022 outlook. I always try to get my magic ball out and say, like, what's going to happen this year, right? What can I predict? What can I look into the future and say might happen? These are probably no brainers because I picked the easy ones. But yeah, I foresee continued increase in locate requests. A lot of that's, I think, is being driven by infrastructure bill that funding coming down from the feds to the different states. It's not just Oklahoma that's seeing these crazy ticket volumes. It's all states across the nation. So yeah, I foresee an increase in ticket volume even over 2020, even over 2021. So 2021 was a 22.3% increase. I can foresee an increase this year as well. We are going to continue automation. That's where we can leverage our resources the best, as we automate. You guys probably don't know this, but if we get a homeowner calls in a locate request and it's a single address parcel and it hits on our parcel in our database, we go ahead and send that on through. We don't have a contact center rep review that ticket. So the more that we can do with the computer and let that automate those tickets, the better it's going to be for you all. The faster those notices go out, the faster the locators can get out there to locate the lines or plan their work more effectively. So the whole thing that I'm envisioning is just more automation and more upgrading of tickets. Transitioning some of our premium services to standard services. We don't have a lot of premium services, but we do have a few, and we've been asked by different member companies, like, I want that premium service, but I don't want to pay a premium dollar for it. So can you just can you just roll it in and make it a service for all members? So we're going to be looking at those opportunities as well in 2022. What can we do to make some of our nicer bells and whistles services available to everybody, and have all members taking advantage of those things. Evaluating our board composition. This is something that the board has been looking at and we're talking about now. We are actually, Paige has convened a bylaws review committee. So we'll be reviewing our bylaws to look at, how is our board comprised right now? We have three oil and gas pipeline operators. We have 2 electric, 2 telecom. Do we need representation from municipalities on our board? Do we need representation from rural water districts on our board? Do we need representation from an excavator, maybe as an advisor to our board? So some of those things we're going to be looking at and asking, do we need to grow our board? Do we need a larger board? Do we need more representation on our board? And that's going to be happening in 2022. Working on national efforts through the Facility Notifications Center Association. That was one that Paige talked about earlier. I'm actually the chair of this new association. It's an international association, although most of the states that are participating are in the US. We actually have Canada as a member of FNCA now. So this is looking at standards for tickets. I know in every state, it's frustrating for an excavator or locator to go from state to state and the law is different. The life of a ticket is different. The scope of a ticket's different. The way the ticket's printed out looks different. Is there something we can do to help standardize some of that stuff so that it's not so complex and complicated for operators and excavators that do business across county line or across state lines? So FNCA is taking a hard look at this and saying, what can we do to come together, see where we have commonalities, see where we maybe need to work together to make some changes, It might be a legislative required changes because some of this stuff is in our law. And just see if it makes sense and if it's practical, let's make some improvements and standardize things if we can. So that's a lot of focus right now on the FNCA side, as well as FNCA is also putting together our different teams and departments so that they can learn from one another. We were out in Phoenix last week, and we also had a virtual opportunity for people to attend. So it's really cool because now my GIS team gets to meet with the GIS teams from all the FNCA members states and learn from them what they're doing with their service areas and bring that back to us, and we can share what we're doing with them. We have GIS, we have contact center supervisors get to talk to other contact center supervisors and learn what's happening in those states. So FNCA is meant to be an association for 811 centers so that we have a place where we can learn from one another, take those best practices, learn what they tried to do, what didn't work, so that we don't make the same mistakes and those kind of things. So I'm really excited about where FNCA is headed, what we're looking at doing with some of the work there. And then collaborating with our ticket management system in Oklahoma is called GeoCall. That's what we use. There's, I think, 13 other states that use GeoCall. And we are constantly collaborating with them on ticket process improvements. How can we make things better, easier, more self-sufficient? And so we're going to be driving more self-service. We spend a lot of time on our membership side dealing with the member updates and the member verifications. If we could just push that to the members and let them make their own updates, then we're not having to have staff doing that on a day in, day out basis. So we're looking at how can we make our stuff more self-service. And then evaluating new tools and technologies to help with that whole predictive analytics on where the damage is happening. Can we predict areas based on damages reported? Can we predict and say this is an area we need to focus our damage prevention on? We want to look for those tools and technologies for all of our members so that we can start providing some of that risk analysis where it makes sense. I know a lot of companies are doing that individually. Cox has their predictive analytics they're doing. I think ONG has some that they're doing. But if we could do this for the whole state of Oklahoma and help even the smaller member companies with some of their risk assessments, that would be great. So we're going to be looking at some of that for 2022 as well. Okay, I don't know what, we're at 2:18. I'm going to turn it over to Richard so he can give a final report on our election results. He got any more votes in?
They're telling the votes as we speak. Anybody got a drum roll for us? Oh, I might have started that a little too early. They're conferring. Yep, it looks like we've got decisions. I just got to build you up a little bit.
So I'm going to stay down here. Just pass me the mic. I heard that quote earlier that stage looks a little, what'd you call it? Sketchy. Yeah, sketchy. Thank you guys for getting your votes in. We have achieved what we call quorum. We received 3,163 votes, which represents about 52% of the total votes available. So those directors that we had presented for re-election will be serving for another 2 terms. Again, thank you for your support.
Thank you, Richard. So this is, and we threw a lot of data at you, and I'm a data person, so I mean, Drill and I kind of challenge each other who's the bigger nerd on data.
We're nerds.
We're nerds, data nerds. So is there any questions based on what, my future outlook for 2022 or the data we reported from 2021?
So the question was, can you go in and edit anything on the portal at any time? Short answer, not edit, but you can definitely go in and view under that membership viewer, and we will have a demonstration that'll go into that portal a little bit more and tell you where that's at and how to get registered for that. But yeah, you can always view it, and then you have the option to submit updates at that time. And she mentioned the self-service that we're working towards to where you'll be able to make those edits live, but we're a ways out from that yet.
Great question. Thank you. Any other questions?
Eva, do we have any online questions? Not yet. That either means we're really good at explaining things.
We put you to sleep. I did want to just mention something that Angie hit on, or I think maybe it was Gerald hit on damage reports. When a damage happens or excavator gets to a site or a locator gets to a site and they see a damage, they can call 811 to report that damage. They also still have to call the facility operator, but if they call us, we put in a damage report, and that damage ticket gets transmitted just like a locate request. It gets transmitted to all of the affected parties that are in the area of the damage. What we're trying to do is collect that phone number of your company who needs to get that damage ticket, or who would that operator or who would that excavator then call at your company to report the damage. So we're going to send them the damage ticket. It would be great if it said O&G on the damage ticket, that O&G's phone number for their emergency response was on that ticket as well. Then they can just turn around, call O&G and say, hey, there's a gas line hit out here. We need you to come fix it. So the damage, the ticket information we're on membership verification, we're asking for that phone number in your company of where that phone call needs to go to when a damage occurs on a dig site.
Yeah, this is definitely a help us help you situation.
Yeah. Okay, well, with no other questions, I'm going to turn it back over to Angie and Tyler. We're going to turn over to Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler's going to do some service area editor demonstrations on the new service area editor that we implemented last year, I believe. So he is a world of knowledge. So
Tyler's one of those like super nerdy guys that doesn't seem like a nerd. So we're lucky to work with such an awesome professional, and maybe you'll get to hear him if we can get the microphone in there. That looks like it's going to hit the middle of the monitor. Anything that we have that works well, it's probably because of this guy. So, yep. Except our feet, except feet. We don't need him to run around or anything. We just computer stuff.
Hello. You can clap for me now. You clapped for me earlier. I'm kidding. Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about the service area editor. Previously, our mapping software we had was through a third party. MSAM, if any of y'all have used that. Thank you. This is actually through GeoCall and those, like Susan mentioned, through those P2 states. So we have a hand in what this is going to become. And it's in its early stages. We were the first state to actually fully launch this and have it being used by our members in its finished capacity. So let me get over here to the exciting part where we're actually going to demo it. All right, so I'm going to try not to get too technical with it and just kind of show, because some of you may manage your service areas for your companies and some of you may not, but just to kind of show this tool and why we're excited about it. It's really going to open a lot of doors for us. Previously submissions either came through on a form or an email, and it could be 3 to 5 days before we had those updated in our system. With this, I mean, it's realistic that unless there's questions and follow-up, it's going to be same day. So when you put that submission in, just have it into us by noon, and it will more than likely be same day, Monday through Friday. They mentioned our portal. If you have a login to our portal currently, you use that same login information to access this. But if you get in and you don't have a little tab over here on the left that says Service Area Editor, ghosts, just let us know and we can get your dispatch codes added to your user and get that permission set up to where you can use this. So when you log in, I have a little bit more over here, but we have some links where you can access our service area map manual. It's going to give you the tips that you need to use it in a PDF form. We also have a how-to video for the service area editor that kind of talks about a lot of the same stuff I'm going to be demoing today. And as well, we would love your feedback. Like I mentioned, we have a say in what this becomes, and so we need to relay that information onto our the developers in our partnership to build that. And we have gotten some feedback, and I hope if you've got it and we've been able to address, I believe, everything that has came up. So we are looking at that feedback. All right, so you go into the service area editor, you're going to get our map here. And it may look a little weird resolution wise. I think it's zoomed in just so it's a little more viewable. Okay. So when you log in, you're going to see our map and you have the ability here to select a code. This will list the codes that are associated to your user. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this T00811. So when you go into your session, you will see your service areas, your current service areas. And you can also click the show published. So to talk a little bit between what published and current is, more than likely, they're going to be the same. Your current and your published will not match if you were like in the process of a submission. So once we make those service areas live, they become published. We publish service areas Monday through Friday. But you can zoom in, you can toggle back and forth, you can see that they match. But think of the current as kind of like a working copy or a temporary copy. You can also search previous sessions. So if you were like, I can't remember what I did that one time, you can come in and actually look at previous sessions. You can pull it up. You can see the activity and the edits that happened through that session. So it's easier way to say, hey, when was that added or when was this area deleted? You can go in and see that. Oh, sorry, the blue, the purple lines are highways. And then yeah. Okay, so now editing is in the name, so more than likely, we want to use it to edit our service areas as well. So I'm going to enter an edit session here. So I've started our edit session. And one of the things that makes this really awesome compared to previous tools that we had, you can actually upload your files to this software. So it accepts GeoJSON, zipped shape files. So we need all those components in there. It also accepts KML. But what we've noticed with KML is Google Earth took away the ability to like flatten out the Earth. So a lot of times that captures the Z values, like your elevation, and that tends to give it a little bit of an issue. So we are working through that if you use KMLs. But GeoJSON is preferred. If you use any GIS software, you can convert to that. And that's just because this is built on an open source toolkit and it is built around GeoJSON, but that shapefile does work as well. So if you have uploaded service areas to us, you've heard the term full replacement. So we're going to upload a full replacement here. It gives me a, hey, this is going to wipe out everything that currently exists, and whatever you upload is what is going to be your file now. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to upload this shapefile. So as you see here, I have this zip shapefile. So it has wiped out that blue, your working copy, and added in this green line here, showing you that that is what you are replacing with. And a little fun fact on this line, it was actually just a center line that in that file. When I uploaded it, it actually went ahead and buffered that file for me by our CGA recommended standard of 500 feet. And we can actually, if you don't use 500 feet, if you go above or below that, we can actually set that per your code. So it's up to you whether or not you want to send us your pre-buffered data. It's not going to add a buffer to it if you're already sending us buffered data. But if you're working with points and lines, the software will go ahead and buffer that for you. And so to kind of show the published difference here. So as you see now, I clicked on that publish. And so this yellow here at this moment would be what you would be receiving tickets on. So it stands out a little bit more now. The green's over here that I'm adding. I'm gonna click, but I did a full replacement, so it's not gonna have that anymore. So once I click save, that green becomes blue. My edits were saved to the session, and this is now my updated working copy. Not gonna submit yet. I just wanna show it uploading some of the other pieces. So, but actually, instead of a full replacement, I need to add in additional areas, but I don't want to wipe out what I already have there. So if I click the green plus, I now have the option to load a file. So I uploaded the shapefile last time. I'm going to upload this GeoJSON. So it retained that blue area that I just uploaded and also added in this green area. It's just a big rectangle, doesn't really resemble anything, but that's there as well. So now I can click save, and it has now brought those two pieces together. You can also use a file to delete areas. So I've switched to the minus button. I'm gonna go load file. I'm gonna load in that same GeoJSON. It's red now. I click save. That area is now gone. Now, something to remember on that is, say you had multiple lines in that area, you sold one, you don't want to delete the whole area because now that area is out of your service areas and you won't receive notifications. So only remove things if you don't have anything there. So that's kind of the highlights on uploading to the service area editor, but you also have the ability to draw directly in the service area editor. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I think Gerald touched on it a little bit, and that was, if you've been in the industry for a while, quarter sections, you probably recognize that term. Well, people are getting away from registering with quarter sections and going to spatial data. But if you have a lot of things and you'd rather still use a quarter section, you can go to the addition tool, select the draw polygon tool, and you can actually come into a quarter section, trace that, and have that in there. So now you have your addition, click save, and it adds that area. Now, and then the same thing with the line. If you know exactly where your line is and you want to come in and just go ahead and draw that line, you can do that, and it buffers it for you as well. Click save, adds it, and then with points, again, you can click. I like this one because it's quick and you can get kind of crazy. But say you got a little bit too crazy and added too much, switch to your deletion tool. For this, it would be, if you're trying to delete areas with drawing, it's a lot easier to just do the polygon because it doesn't have to be a perfect trace. I need to get rid of all this stuff over here. So I'm just going to trace this. All those areas are encompassed in that deletion area now. When I click save, it removes those areas. So now, when I click submit, it's going to submit those changes for review. And when you do this, it sends an email to our GIS team, letting us know that there's a new submission that we need to review. So what we will do is we will come in, we will see that. You won't have this stuff over here on the left. It will just say in reviewing. So then we can come in and approve it. Or if you realize you messed up, or for some reason we need to push this back to you, we can come and hit edit, and it will move it back into an editing state where you can make those edits. But what we're going to do here, we're just going to go ahead. You won't have to do this, but just showing you this. So we get notified if there's, this is 2%, but in our production system, it will notify us if there is more than a 1% change. And this is alerting us that we need to, make sure that things are still looking good. So we'll compare that to the published, making sure that, you didn't previously have all the Tulsa area and now all that's gone and now you have all of Oklahoma City. It's like maybe something went wrong there. But then again, it's realistic that you're going to be deleting areas out. If you ever have deletions, we also have a note feature. Please put a note in there with the reasoning, I abandoned these lines or I added them in error. We will see that. And so that tells us we don't need to follow up with you and ask that question. We can go ahead and approve it. If we don't have that note and we get that percent change, we're going to ask, why are you deleting things? Because if it is a sale, we do try to play our role in the, providing damage prevention efforts. And, if you did sell something, we want to reach out to that acquiring company to be sure that, hopefully they are a member. If they're not, we're reaching out to them saying, hey, we were notified you bought something, add it. And just one last thing here. We also have the ability to download these areas. So from this screen, there's a little cloud here with a down arrow. You can download those current service areas, or you can also download your published service areas. And at the moment, those come through as GeoJSON. So again, you can convert that in any kind of GIS software. Just making sure that I didn't miss anything. Yeah. Any questions just off the bat? And I am doing a more in-depth presentation tomorrow about GIS utilization and go more in depth on this and how everything works together. So that will probably be a little bit more technical, but again, excited to demo this. Whether some of you use it or not, it's exciting to have this tool. Thank you, Tim. And I believe now it is time for our member services team to present. And Eva, do you just want me to go straight to the video? Okay. So just real quick, it's Eva with the 811 member portal demonstration. All right, I'll just let you hit play when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name's Eva Donahue. I'm with Member Services with Okie 811. And we're going to show a brief video about the member portal and all the features that are available in it. It is a free resource to our members, so we do encourage you to utilize this. This will show you all the features that are in the portal, as well as how to get signed up.
This video will give you a brief walkthrough of the member portal and its features. In the portal, you can respond to locate requests, search for tickets, pull reports, and manage the information you have on file. The portal is a great resource, and we encourage all our members to utilize the tools available. If you need assistance logging in, or if you have any questions that aren't answered in this video, you can select Help and access our member portal help page. We have in-depth tutorials covering how to register for the portal, all the portal features, and access to our recorded webinars. Now let's take a closer look at the member portal features. With new ticket, you can easily submit locate requests on the portal. This can save you a lot of time avoiding those wait times when trying to call in your locate requests. Find tickets allows you to search using the 14-digit ticket number. You can also use the advanced search option to filter and search for tickets your company submitted within the last 30 days. The new ticket and find ticket features are the only features that excavators have in the portal. Members have those features as well as these additional features. Queue allows you to search and resend transmitted tickets. This feature is very helpful when your email or other services are down. With reports, it makes it quick and effortless to pull real-time reports. You can search for an existing ticket, view your ticket counts, or pull a report of specific ticket details. For example, using the ticket search by code, you would enter the dispatch code and the county, then use any of the other search options in this box to help filter those results. You would select a date range using beginning and ending dates within 31 days of each other, and you can do this going as far back as 3 years to pull just exactly the information that you're needing. These reports can be very useful, especially for things like your year-end audits, to gather the information for ticket counts for the year or identifying how many of each ticket type a code received. Membership info is a new feature that has been added to the portal. It allows you to view the dispatch information that you have on file for any of the codes that you're linked to. You can update your information or verify that your information is correct. You can also print that information using the options at the top of the page. If you need to review your service area or make any edits to the service area, we do have a link in the member info viewer that will take you directly to the service area editor. And Respond allows you to communicate the status of locate requests to the excavators, as well as having a record of the response for yourself. Since positive response is mandatory, we would like to take a deeper dive into the Respond feature to show you how quick and easy it is to add responses to locate requests. This is a default view. It shows locate requests with an open status. What each user sees can vary. If you have more than one facility type, you will see multiples of each ticket, one for each facility that you have, like the example shown. Or if you're linked to more than one dispatch code, you'll see the request for all the codes that you're linked to as well. There are two ways that you can respond. The first one that we're going to cover is responding from the results view, which allows you to respond to multiple tickets or configurations at one time. This is a huge time saver, especially for companies that receive a lot of locate requests every day. So be sure to utilize this one as much as possible. So for this example, we're going to select our water and sewer configurations. You can select as many as you need as long as you're adding the same response to each ticket. So we would select those, and then we would select add a response. We would select our action, add a comment if needed, and then hit save. On these examples, we're not actually going to save, but when you do save, it will automatically refresh and then clear those from your ticket view. The next way that you can add a response is from the ticket view, which lets you respond to one ticket at a time. So on that one, you would double click on the ticket. And when you're in the ticket view, you have a lot of different options. You can show your map, see ticket history, send the ticket to an email, review all the ticket details. So this view is really helpful also. But on this ribbon on the top, you would go ahead and select add a response. And from this response box, although you can only respond to one ticket at a time, you can respond for each facility type if you need to. So if you only want to respond for pipeline, you can just select pipeline, add the response that you need, any comments if you'd like to add those, and then select save. So as you can see, there are quite a few different options for adding those responses, which can be really helpful for your locators. We do have some ticket searches on the left-hand side. So if they have any tickets that they need to search for, or if they have a closed ticket they want to add or update a response for, they can put in that ticket number and search, and then they'll be able to open up that ticket and add or update a response. We also have our advanced options. You can search 31 days at a time, and you can search your closed or your open tickets. And we do also accept responses from API companies if you use a separate response system as well. And if you haven't signed up for the portal yet, we would really love it if you could sign up today. So to sign up, you would want to go to okie811.org. You would hover over that members tab, select member portal. Then you would select the Okie 811 portal and then select sign up in the top right-hand corner of the page. And as always, if you have any questions about the sign-up process, positive response, or anything that we covered today, feel free to reach out to your member services team. We are always here for you. We want to help you in any way that we can, and we definitely don't want you to miss out on any of the great benefits that the portal or your Okie 811 membership have to offer.
Anybody have any questions over the portal? As you can see, it does have a lot of great features. We're always looking, as Susan and our leadership team has talked about, we're always looking to make improvements to the services for our members. So if you do have any questions or suggestions, please reach out and let us know. We'd be happy to discuss those with you and see what we can do. You got it? Okay.
Thank you, Eva. We did have one question come in online back in regards to the service area editor. And that question is if there's an aerial view or where we can see that and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have different map layers here. So again, we're at our aerial view here. We have, these ones are in our dev system, so they're a little bit different, but let's see here. So we have Bing layers. So you can go in and actually see the Bing aerials with the Bing data there. And I realized after I didn't introduce myself, my name's Tyler Dunlap. I'm the GIS applications administrator at Okie, but I do different things too. All right, anything else?
He's definitely a wizard at Okie 811, yes.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any other questions regarding any information that was presented today? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and flip it back over. I think we do have contact information. If you think of any after you leave, don't hesitate to reach out to any of our departments. We're here to serve you guys and appreciate all your engagement and support in our organization and the damage prevention efforts.